Hey everybody, it's Mark from the Crystal Chronicles. This is going to be episode 172, your DissidiaFFOO podcast. We're just in the pre-show, so you can hang around and join us, or you can skip ahead till you see the video if you're watching video on demand, and the intro video, and that's when the show will start, or you can go to tccpodcast.com and listen to it as a podcast on your favorite podcast app. Plenty of options for you to partake in the podcast. What was that? Did that work? What? What? Interesting. All right. Well, let's everybody know we're here. Hey, those of you who are joining us, welcome.
I thought the channel automatically pings the server when we go live. No more?
It does. It just takes a second. Usually like 2 minutes.
Oh.
Hey, how we doing? We got somebody on YouTube, maybe? I'm not seeing anybody in the... I see you on the... Kisses, I see you on the... I see you on the screen. I don't see you on my... Whatchamacallit? You know.
I scrolled up. It hasn't pinged for the last couple of weeks. Did you turn it off?
No. I'm pretty sure it pinged last week.
No,
hey,
I'm looking at
Drez, Persona 2, best Persona?
I think I'm looking at... I don't know, whatever.
We have our own, remember, I think, right?
I don't know.
Dystopia, Trevoid, how we doing? Yeah, here we go. Persona and Kisses are on the YouTube. There we go. It just took a second to start up. Yeah, under... What's the channel? Your Streams? Yeah, it says it's live from last week. You don't have the bot? October 21st. Hey, everyone. Crystal Chronicles podcast is now live on Twitch. Go check it out. That's from last week under your streams. Is everyone ready for the Doomsayers? Zektor, how you doing? How we doing? Let me check back here. Make sure the things are going. Braska. What flavor of ice cream is Braska? How's everybody doing tonight? How's everybody doing tonight? Ooh, Twitch retweeted us. It's exciting. How exciting. How exciting. What's wrong with Braska? Is Mino's... Yes, the question says, what is Mino's least favorite Final Fantasy game? Interesting.
Braska's a real weird choice.
It is an interesting choice, isn't it? But he was in Record Keeper. All three of them were. I mean, it makes sense. They're like... they're like that other trio, Yuna, Pain, and what's her name? Well, who's the third one? I think they're as, definitely up there with the great Final Fantasy trios. Braska, Chet, Orin.
That's like putting in Terra's dad or Bart's dad. They're so irrelevant. They're like out of NPCs that get screen time, I guarantee you Braska's in the bottom like 20%.
Yeah, Jet and Orin had a lot more screen time, but I mean, Braska had more screen time than Terra's dad. I mean, you don't
Did
think?
he? Did he?
Yeah, you don't think in all the cutscenes and
No.
the Sphere
I think
records.
you only see him in the Sphere records and only some of them.
Day one Braska fan.
Like, where else do you see him not in the Sphere records?
Well, I mean, you see statues of him, but no, I mean, there's the flashbacks and then the Sphere records, but he's pretty prominent in the Sphere records, though, right?
No.
You don't think?
Jekt and Orin talk for like 95% of the time, and then Braska just like laughs. What a non-character, Jesus Christ. To quote BC, what did he do in the game? Like, without people talking about him, what did he do when he was on screen? Yeah, Unaleska had more lines
Oh,
than Braska.
that's not true at all.
The other summoners and their guardians had more lines.
What's his name? Yeah, I mean there are. So I have the script. There's 11 spheres. There's 11 spheres, and yeah, Braska's pretty prominent in all of the spheres. I mean, yes, obviously he has less screen time than Orin. He has less screen time than. Hey, thank you for the subscription, Tree Void. Appreciate that. And Abe Lincoln, thank you for the subscription.
What named character has less screen time than Braska?
Keepa. He's got less screen time. Unless you play
that's not a named character. He's just named after his position. It's like Barkeep, right? If everyone calls him Barkeep, everyone calls him Keepa.
No, I Chapu.
No, Chapu has more screen time than Braska. He deserves to be in the game more than Braska. Are you kidding me? Every time Titus does something, and then Waka and Lulu are like, "You're just like Chapu," that counts as counts as Chapu screen time.
Yeah. Yeah, I I don't know. I'm just used to him in Final Fantasy Record Keeper, so it wasn't like, oh, who the hell is Braska?
Yeah, I get it. I think he's in Brave Exvius too, but I'm just saying, I don't know why, because he's such a non-character.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. They don't put Bart's dad in. Wait, maybe they did in Record Keeper.
He's probably in Record Keeper, yeah. Let's be honest. He's probably in.
You don't put in like Cloud's mom or something. She's alive now, I think, in the remakes.
Oh yeah. So Cloud's mom, Eris mom. It's got some screen time.
Yeah, all these people were alive too.
I feel like there are a lot of other named characters in Final Fantasy X who might have more screen time, but whose names I don't remember off the top of my head. So, I mean, that says something.
The other two summoners.
Right.
There's the, I think the girl's Isabella.
Yeah, there's the guy, what's his name, that you have to fight who summons the same summons that you summon.
Yeah, Isaru? Or was that one of the brothers?
Isaru, that sounds right.
Yeah, he has the two brothers.
Yeah, you have
and then you have that, like, legendary summoner that's already dead. I forget her name. You know, that she summons the Mega Sisters.
Oh, yeah. Imagine playing a Final Fantasy game. Hey everybody. Did we get any changes here? Is that getting a rework? Would we know if there's a rework?
No, I think it's oh no, yeah, he does get a rework, right? He does.
I think he does get a
Isaru.
Yeah, Isaru. I mean, Noel and Sarah are both in this game, and they're like non-characters, right? So Noel wasn't even in Final Fantasy 13. I don't even remember seeing him. He's in this game. I'm kidding, Final Fantasy 13 2 fans. I know they're rabid animals. Hey, Scam Train. Thank you, Jesus Faction. Thank you for the bits.
The only people who like Final Fantasy 13 2 are the people that haven't outgrown Pokemon.
Good to know.
Good to know.
All right, are we ready to start the show?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, everybody, I'm glad you're here. Let's get ready to start the show. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome, everyone, to episode 172 of the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omni podcast, bringing you all your DissidiaFFOO news and talk every single weekend, or week, I guess. It's not quite the weekend yet, almost. Thursdays, 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time on YouTube and Twitch. If you are watching live, thank you so much. It's great to have you with us. Please do like, sub, ring the bell on YouTube. You can become a member of our YouTube community, get some free swag from that. Also, super chats, make sure we notice you. And on Twitch, likewise, you can follow and subscribe there. We appreciate all your help. If you're listening on the video on demand or on your favorite podcast app, we're glad you are with us. So last week, we had some trivia. We do have some trivia, and our good friend, TCC intern Podoceder, does these for us. What was Mark's first episode opening the podcast? So not the first episode on the podcast, because that would be episode number 1. But the first episode that I opened the podcast was episode 27, A Devoted Heart. And this week's question, you're going to wait for the post show to figure out what it is. What is Mino's least favorite Final Fantasy game? What's Mino's least favorite Final Fantasy game? I'm guessing Podo actually asked you, or is he just assuming what your least favorite Final Fantasy game is?
I don't remember.
There are so many.
DissidiaFFOO.
Yeah, it is Defo is our least favorite Final Fantasy game in the franchise. Well, hey all, I know you're all running around like chickens with your heads cut off because you've used all your power stones and you don't know how you're going to be able to afford force weapons. But this is not a Japan Defo podcast. This is a GL Defo podcast. So if you want to hang around for JP talk, might be intertwined or intersected. It might be intersected in the podcast throughout the podcast. But you can stick around to the post show, and I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit more about that. We'll see. I'm not by myself. I'm joined by the one, the only, less than 2% Neanderthal, 23andMe says. It's Mino Spellgood. Mino, how you doing?
Doing good, Mark. Exciting Defo week. Work's been going okay, so no complaints. Oh, just as you were mentioning it, you know what? Intersecting wills is growing on me. I really don't think there's anything wrong with intersecting wills over intertwined. I know people are arguing the semantics of like what they were saying the difference between intertwined and intersecting is, but I was thinking like if you're talking about JP and GL versions, they're intersecting, right? They're not intertwined. Would you say that? They don't constantly revolve around each other. They just have some overlap. And I'm willing to bet that these intersecting wills, it's like you're crossing paths, right? Two people are just crossing paths in their journey, not like fucking walk in circles around each other or some dumb shit.
That sounds beautiful. I'm looking forward to your upcoming book of poetry. called
It's gonna wait. I gotta do that Kane/RNA/Freya fanfic
fanfic.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Freya got in there too, huh? Okay. Yeah, I got it. Freya in power armor, though. Not in that dumb suit. Let's get some armor on that rat. Yeah. So look for Spellgood's fan fiction comic called "A Dragoon to Remember." That's gonna be on your dark web private browser searches on the internet near you. So look forward to that. Hey, we
Actually, Dark Side of the Dragoon.
the dark side of the dragoon. That's your new album, Dark Side of the Dragoon. It's contemporary. You don't want to call it music per se. It's more of a
experience.
concept.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. It's a experimental
the TCC experience.
experimental concept. Looking forward to that. We got a lot of projects. A lot of brands in the fire. Or coals in the fire. Whatever's in the fire. Tighten your purse strings, friends, because we got a lot to talk about today. Including some bugs. I don't know if you caught this, Mino, but there was a bug when the event dropped where it just happened, I think, a little bit after the event, because when I logged into the event, I was able to do my polls and get out. But then the next day, you went to do your polls, and every time you pulled, it died. So, like, the game shut down. Did you have that issue?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it did happen to me just on a daily poll. And so I imagine if that happened to somebody while they were actually, doing their polls, that would have really, really stunk, especially if you were streaming or anything else. But that has been fixed. We also got some sales and some rewards. So just to go over those, Vayne and Cloud of Darkness have their... thank you, Silocons, for the subscription. Appreciate that. Goose has gifted a couple subs too, I believe, here. So thank you very much. That was Goose. That was Goose. Excuse me. That was Goose gifting 2 subs, and Sea Strife and Silocons got those subs. So thank you, Goose, for the 2 gifted subs. I got to make sure I kind of chat because it pops up. So and so subscribe, but it's really a gifted sub. So appreciate that. Yeah. So Vayne and Cloud of Darkness got their rerun costume, but we did get a new weapon gloss. It is a lollipop, Halloween pumpkin lollipop, and potentially we will have a new costume when Zach appears. But we did get the weapon gloss because I've seen people use that on Vayne, really strutting their stuff. And we have some special high armor packs. So we got I believe a high armor pack with 20 high armor tokens. Oh, the game's updated. A high armor pack with 40 high armor tokens, and a high armor pack with 1 book and 2 ingots. So, pick up the weapon gloss or get any of those high armor bundles.
I'm getting the Halloween sales bundles. I think the most expensive one comes with 12 power pieces.
Ooh.
And the $37 one comes with 8. So it's a pretty good deal.
So that is
stock up on those now, yeah.
Yeah, so get your power stones, people. If you don't know what we're talking about, God bless you if you don't know. But save those power stones and save them up. And buy them when they're on the cheap. So those Halloween bonus, a lot of sales going on. So if you got some money, want to throw in supporting the game, that's okay. Hey, if you don't support the game, if you can't support the game, life situation, whatever, you don't got the money, it's okay. No shame. Glad you're playing. Glad you're enjoying. Support the game in other ways. Support your favorite content creator. Do whatever you can. Maybe make something. Give back. But if you what would you say if you're gloating about how you don't support the game? Yeah, maybe go touch grass, as Black Nero would say, because that's just kind of an asshole thing to do. Thank God people support the game, like us, because it wouldn't be around if no one was paying for it, especially those people who actually make money like we do playing the game. I think we have a little duty to give back. So anybody who disagrees with me, there you go. Hey, but we also got some free stuff because this isn't just a game where you pay. This is a game where you get stuff for free. So we got the Skwex Community Mobile Stream Rewards. Hooray. lots of gems, everything else. And also the Twitter rewards, where we did get a BT Realization book. Pretty great. So free stuff is always welcome, and that extra book for our Burst Pluses is going to be exceptionally welcome. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Skwex community stream. We don't have a lot to talk about today, so we might be able to have a little bit longer post show, but we'll see. But we do have the Skwex community stream. Unfortunately, no one was in costume. You know, no Kefka. Glacy didn't show up. The Ope girls really showed up. Our people, if you're not familiar, in Japan, in the Japanese version of the game, they do a monthly, it's not a stream, it's like a video that they shoot out, and they have 3 hosts. They have a guy and then 2 women, and they were all dressed to the nines, and Crystal, oh geez, sorry, Skwex Glacy was in chat, throwing some commentary in. It was nice to see her. But Skwex, Crystal, and Joshua, just no costumes. So maybe next time. Maybe we'll get ugly Christmas sweaters. Try to liven up the streams a little bit. But we did get the stream, and told us some things that were coming out, and not really a lot of news. Besides, we are getting Zach, very likely in about 47 minutes, but they didn't tell us when. No surprises announced. They actually, we did get a quality of life. It is the icons. They didn't even talk about this, but we do have a quality of life. It is the icons on the main map. Currently, they have been split into 2 pages. So you have events, lost chapters, world evolutions, hunts, dimensions end, and abyss those over 2 pages, 5 on one on the other. Eventually, we will have intertwined wills get their own little thing, and the 6-man event has its own little thing too. This is different because in Japan does not have abyss, and Japan does not have its own little marker for the hunts. So Japan still only has 1 screen, but we got the global first 2 screens. It's a seemingly quick schedule. I know there was a lot of comments saying, oh man, everything's kind of coming back to back to back, but kind of looking over the calendar last month through October, you could say.
You mispronounced intersecting wills again, because now you pissed Josh off.
What did I say?
I don't know. You probably said intertwined. I wasn't.
I
was looking at something.
Intersecting wills. We had a conversation about this. Yes, it is intersecting wills. Thank you, Skwex Joshua, for that update. Intersecting wills. If you're not familiar with what intersecting wills, they're kind of similar to a lost chapter, and so characters we've already had from lost chapters, like Garnet, are going to come back and have their own little story, and of course they get their upgrades at that point. So intersecting wills, and we had a little rant about that earlier on, about what that might mean. So there you go. Yes, Excalibur, that is Skwex Joshua. Sometimes pops in with us. So thank you again to Crystal and Joshua for all of that. But there were some questions about, wow, it really seems that the schedule is kind of intensified this week or this month, and we have the next Skwex community stream on a Sunday night. I believe it's the 21st of November instead of on a Monday. Most likely because of the holidays, not anything to worry about. But looking back over this last month, I just kind of went through the calendar. We had 6 events in 21 days. Looking ahead next month, we're going to have 6 events in 21 days, unless we have another event, surprise event, then it would be 7, right? So, we don't know where Zach is going to fall, likely here in a little bit, we just got a game update. We don't know if we're going to get Vanille. Japan got Vanille in this point. That can be moved around. We know those campaign events can be moved around. But that being said, it's really not that much of an accelerated schedule. I think it's just the change in the schedule because of holidays or whatever. Yeah. So other than that, not a lot of surprises. Things we knew that were coming with Vayne Cycle and Twin Cycle and everything else. So it should be a pretty busy couple weeks as everything's kind of right tight together, but nothing out of the ordinary yet. So Mino, what were your thoughts from the stream and the event schedule in general?
Sure. Before I comment, Z Sector says intertwine wills sounds more professional than intersecting wills. Guys, I'm pure team intersecting because it's a temporary team up. It's like a superhero team up. They're not getting married. Intersecting is just crossing paths. You guys, I'm convinced you guys only like intertwining because you guys probably had to look it up, or it sounds fancier. It's not as used in your everyday life. But back to the stream thing. So, schedule-wise, is it really sped up, or are just less things announced, right? Like, did they just announce 3 weeks of releases, and then we'll have an earlier stream or a pushed back stream? Like you said, dancing around the holidays. Did we really get like the same amount of events in less amount of time? It really doesn't feel like
no,
it.
it actually, at least looking at the calendar, it actually is the same amount of time, the same amount of events per the amount of time. There might be a little bit of a longer or shorter break in between, and I think that's going to be the one thing. I think there's a smaller break in between the two burst cycles, but over the course of the 3 weeks, this last month we had 3 weeks with 6 events and then basically a week off. And this next month we have 6 events in 3 weeks, and then who knows, right? So whatever happens after that. So it's really not accelerated, but people, and a special thank you to Skwex Joshua, except for whatever's going to happen tonight, because I don't think any events on Thursday night. So I don't know that. I guess that's not necessarily better for our numbers, but we like to actually play the events when they come out instead of being here on the podcast. So it makes it a little easier for us. So thank you. Thank you, dev team and Skwex and Joshua and Skwex Crystal. I'm sure they control the. Well, we don't know. We don't know what if there's going to be any event or if it's just a banner, right? So we don't know what's going to happen. We'll figure it out here in 41 minutes. We'll figure it out together on the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast. Like, sub, and ring the bell for notifications. Yes, but what was Joshua saying about? Yeah, believe it or not, the Japanese version is in Japanese. Interesting, and not in English.
So intertwined is a fan translation. This is like,
very
I always complain about this when people are like super married to a fan translation. We had this. I had a rant during Far Ends of the Dimension, right? That's how the fans translated it instead of Dimensions End. And there was this huge riot that for some reason it wasn't translated in a clunky Far End of the Dimensions. Like, that's such a shitty title. I don't know.
End of Dimensions as opposed to Dimensions End.
It's that
one's I'm glad it's like, Dimensions End. Yeah,
it's like that mistranslation of Tactics Witch for Aphmau's buff instead of Tactics Witch. And people are like, why isn't it Tactics Witch? What the fuck is Tactics Witch?
What is a Tactics
not
Witch?
A witch?
She's not
this
a
is an actual puppeteer ability in FF11 called Tactical Switch. Like, these all have precedent.
But that's literally what she does. She switches turn order in a tactical manner. She doesn't.
I hate weebs. Weebs are the worst. Jesus Christ.
To be fair to everyone, nobody played Final Fantasy 11, so they don't know. But yeah, she's not a witch. Yeah, no, it is funny when people get, like you said, married to the fan translations. That's all it is, right? It is fan translation.
Yeah, guys. Other than Leo Bob, our community's translators rely heavily on Google Translate and informal,
which is.
Katakana and Hiragana, guys. We don't have professional. Now that we lost Leo Bob, we don't have an actual fluent trans. So I'd take them all with a grain of salt.
Yeah. And yeah.
Introverted wills.
Introverted wills. Yes.
Yeah. The last thing, touching up on what you said about campaign characters, I think I was saying in our mod chat that I think it's the best way to speed up the game because we talked about how BTs are really hard to move around, right? I truly don't believe we'll ever have like a GL first BT because BTs are so intertwined with the 2 week synergy cycles and the banners, right? So their flexibility to move things around now lie in the campaign banners. So if they ever want to speed things up to make room for like an Abyss release or another Equinox type event, or they want to time travel, campaigns are the perfect fodder for that because
Yeah.
they all released without events. So there's no big events tied to them. There's no like scaling or game balancing needed. Just move the weapon. Just move the weapon. And then in like Aphmau's case, you can just combine these with regular weapons or, throw in some random stuff and you could slowly close the gap as well. Or, even end the LD era sooner. Didn't they what era was it that they sped up the releases? Was it EX plus?
That was
35 CPs
yeah.
were sped
Oh
up,
yeah,
right?
30
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
cuz
yeah, 35 CPs were sped up. Yeah.
we got Titus way early. And then
Yeah.
we started into, I mean, we only had maybe a month, maybe less than a month of 15 only CP or 15 only CP weapons. I was right the first time.
Yeah. So I'm saying like this is a good way to repeat that if they really want to speed it up. The secret is campaign banners because I don't think they're moving BTs. And if you just squash a bunch of banners together, you can close the gap a bit.
Yeah. Anything else from the stream? Pretty straightforward. I don't think, like you said, there was no at least big surprises. That doesn't mean we won't get some surprises, but uh, anything else you wanted to bring before we move on?
No, I'm good.
All right. And again, thank you, Skwex Joshua, Skwex Crystal. We have that monthly community stream. And yeah, and we can understand it. That's the fun part about watching that and responding to it. We can actually understand what they're saying, and it's not watching an hour-long video where you can't read or understand what they're saying, and then making a 5-minute video about all the things that went wrong. So moving on to kind of before we get to the event, we like to stop and take a moment. Shout out to those great, wonderful people who are also making content. Doing great things in our community. First, want to shout out to VL. If you're not subbed to VL Defo on YouTube, VL makes great content. Japanese. He's not Japanese to my knowledge, but plays the Japanese version of the game. Got a great video about everything that's going on in the Ope and kind of walking through what we know so far about the next tier of difficulty, all that kind of stuff. Our friend Black Nero's got one as well. And so check out VL. VL's videos are hilarious, very good editing, and always very informative. So if you haven't subbed to VL on YouTube, definitely do that. And likewise, I think you were going to shout out Excalibur, Mino.
Oh yeah, Excalibur hit 1,000 subs.
That's awesome.
I think this week. So, congrats to Excal. I know he's always been a regular TCC challenge runner, and he works really closely with Macnell, and he's recently been doing those boss behavior infographics. I think we shouted out a while ago.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Excalibur's fight Lufania Plus infographics, really nice. Just kind of a real simple way to kind of look at the fight and some of the threshold. It really focuses on the thresholds, not all of the mechanics, but really talks about the thresholds of the fight. So those are on our server. Those are on our Discord. You can join our Discord, tccpodcast.com, or on DissidiaInfo.com. Pointing to it like you can. It's on DissidiaInfo.com, our friend Macnell. And, of course, you can find the longer, usually Scott-Ong or Macnell, do the longer kind of walk through the actual fight. But great people in our community, so deserve some love. They've been doing it for a long time. Definitely check them out. And so many others, every week. We like to shout out a few people. So we got one event and potential another event or at least another character to talk about in 34 minutes. But we do have one event to talk about and two characters, and that is the raid event that is currently ongoing. In fact, I've got some rewards to claim. I hope all of you are using King and Edgar and where are we? What do we have left here? We got, we need some more Edgar, some more Kings, some more Stragos. So remember in these raid events, you actually have to bring different characters to get the community rewards. So there's not a co-op shop, but there is a kind of cumulative rewards for the community. And every time you fight, cumulative rewards for you as well. And with this event, too, before we talk about the characters, really good orbs, or refined spheres, excuse me. We don't, although the drop rate for the refined spheres is not as good as the Chaos co-ops. As you can see here, the Harvest Madness, I got 3,700 refined sphere bits for that. And just not a lot of great sphere options. And this one I've got 15. But all A spheres, which is great. You always need A spheres if you don't need spheres, but if you're going to have some spheres, throwing on refined spheres is a good way to do it. I think all of these spheres are actually useful. You have Cloud of Darkness's sphere. You have Edgar's sphere, which is brave damage. You have Iroha's sphere, which is brave gain. Probably the least useful, but still pretty cool. Strago's sphere, which is attack up and overflow up. Vayne sphere, which is brave damage up, and King sphere, which is amazing, and it's attack up. So all decent A spheres, and it's been a while since we have really good A spheres. So make sure that if you want some A spheres, this is a good time to get those here. Let's talk about the characters. We got a brand new LDBT with a BT plus, and we got a new BT plus, as is the tradition here for these banners, at least for the time being. 2 BT pluses and then the 2 LDs across the different banners. So the first character is the new character and the cycle character for synergy on these quests, and that is Vayne. Vayne comes back with a rework and an LD and a BT. Thank you, good brother Greg, for the follow here. And his BT plus. So Vayne, if you're not familiar with him, he is a damage dealer. He can kind of turn manipulate by taking multiple consecutive turns. He can regenerate his skills now with his rework when he's in his plus form, or his skills are in their plus variant. They actually do not, they're actually free turns. They're free ability uses. They don't tick down your ability count, which is really nice. That was a problem he had. He would burn out of abilities. Even with the refreshing of the abilities, every time you press EX, he refreshes abilities. He also gets some boosts to his, to his general power and a little bit of party support here going on. His LD is pretty straightforward. It immediately gives him 3 stacks of the Conqueror's Power, the one that gives him the free consecutive turns and the plus abilities, and it also gives him a new buff, which allows him just to do more damage and just be better at doing what he does. Overall, he's not really any different than he had been, besides, he's a damage dealer. He has break resets or re-breaks. He can cancel break and then re-break. So that's kind of his main utility. Again, he gets a little bit of bonus to the party. His BT plus, it's not the best of the BT plus effects. It's certainly not bad. I actually kind of consider him one of the weaker of these first 8, just because the effect is not amazing. And he burns through it pretty quick because he can take consecutive turns. And he does get a follow-up with his BT+, but it's only on re-break. So after a party member breaks an enemy, it triggers up his follow-up. So, I mean, he can trigger it, but it's not something like Cloud of Darkness. It's always going to trigger it. Always. But my experience, I do have him. I have not greened him, but I do have his BT and his LD. I liked him in his EX era. I think he plays pretty smooth. His LD fixes a lot of his issues, so you're not running out of skills. You can immediately go into 3 stacks with his EX or his LD and go into your phase of doing damage. His BT is nice. His BT effect really helps power him up a little bit. I'm sure if you had BT plus, it would be even nicer, and he have a little bit more longevity. But I'm not sure that he's the best unit for that. But overall, if you like Vayne and you like how he played, he doesn't play any different, and a lot of the problems he had are fixed. So, I mean, that's the good news. The bad news is there's probably better BT Plus investments at this moment, including the character we're going to talk about in a second. So, Mino, what are your initial impressions about Vayne?
I don't think I have too much to say about him. Personally, I've just never been a fan of these speedster characters or these turn hogs that take a lot of consecutive turns. And especially in the Lufania era, where you're kind of penalized for that because the orb is ticking down regardless. In the next era, it looks like you're probably going to be rewarded for that. But here, I don't like this year. I don't like turn hogs. I don't like speedsters. That being said, Vayne seems to have a lot of control compared to the others. Because when Terra pops her LD, you have to take those 6 turns back to back, right? And I believe that's the same with Zell, correct? You have to run that cycle out. You can't just stop whenever you want.
Right. But you can't really stop with once he gets the free skills, he has to burn through them.
Okay, but his window is shorter, right?
It is,
it's 3
correct.
Turns?
It's 3 turns. Yeah.
So it's more manageable.
Unless you can actually stack it to get a little bit higher depending on how you use your burst window, but that's big brain play, right?
Right. But typically, it's like a 3-turn window, which is much more manageable here. I think you were telling me that you use them during this fight.
Yeah.
And basically, you were counting turns, you were like, okay, I have this many turns left, so I'm just gonna have Vayne clean up the rest and then let them go, right?
Yeah.
So like, I respect Vayne a lot for that. A lot of control, right? Some speed, some turn manipulation, breaks and re-breaks help with that too. Very technical character. Just at this time, I'm not a fan of characters that are like death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
And
I will say, Skwex Joshua is reminding us the most important thing. He can wield the 4 pumpkin lollipops, the weapon gloss. Unfortunately, I have not picked them up yet. So, or my Vayne would have the lollipops, but I haven't bought anything yet today. So, but I have seen some people. I did see one green Vayne in co-op. With his costume and the lollipops. So somebody was doing their job. Much respect. Much respect for your Vayne and everything else. Remember, if you put Vanille Sphere on him, he becomes a Dispeller. So extra utility. And he's got a D-Sphere for some reason. He's got Unity armor, too. He's a weird character. I don't know what they were thinking with some of that stuff.
I honestly can't wait to see what they do with him next tuning pass. And guys, when I say next tuning pass, I don't mean C90 because I barely count that. That's just a small statistical upgrade and bringing the EX and AA up to par. But I'm excited to see what they do with him next tuning pass because sadly, I feel like this time it was a miss. I really liked him during EX Plus, actually.
Oh yeah, he was dominant.
Yeah, I really liked him during release.
Cosmos
during
era.
his release, he was great. Yeah, but it really feels like his LD and BT are kind of a miss this time, sadly.
He's in Synergy right now, so you'll have to see out of Synergy. I imagine out of Synergy without BT Plus, his overall damage is a little lacking, but compared to other BT Plus characters who are damage dealers as opposed to supports like Bartz and Y'shtola. The other damage dealers, including the ones we're going to get, over the next month, probably outdamage him, definitely. But that being said, he's not bad, right?
No BT Plus character
at
is
all
bad.
Well,
let's just get. I said no. I don't know. I said this in the beginning of the era. I feel like
maybe
BT Plus characters are on a different tier. You can't really
exactly
rate them against LD only. So like it's always going to be an upgrade. A BT Plus is always at least Transcendence fodder because there's going to be a couple of tiers that are decently easy and you can just throw any BT in there for the stats. The extra turns, the extra stacking effect, no matter what, they're just plain better. So you can't really go wrong.
I mean, if you like the Terra Yang, if you like the Titus Core, I mean, it's a similar mechanic, although he's got some cancel break, re-break in that mix and a little bit of support. So, you can definitely pair him with Core at this point. You can pair him with Cloud of Darkness if you want to run triple BT. Run him with Bartz or Y'shtola. And Y'shtola might be a little bit better, right, for Vayne because he does more Brave gains. Yeah, I think he does Brave gains on. Well, no, he's got a lot of Brave hits too. So I think either one, Bartz or Y'shtola, Cloud of Darkness, and Vayne are going to be a good triple. At this point, if you're triple BTing anything, it's a lot of overkill, right? To triple BT plus, excuse me, that's what I meant. If you're stacking BT pluses at this point, you don't need to beat content. So if you are, even with a friend unit, yeah, the amount of damage you're doing is going to be okay. Like your BT plus Vayne with 2 other BT effects is going to do okay damage. He's not gonna lack for damage, but yeah. Looking at the podcast polls, if I can find them here, where did they go? Podcast polls are brought to you by MateriaBot. Thank you, Quetzalma, MateriaBot, and J.A for shooting those out there. I will say, check out the Tonberry Troupe, of course, infographic. Really wonderful, all of the good work that Tonberry Troupe does. But looking at the podcast polls, we had across 8 servers. Of course, you can add this to your server if you have your own Discord server. 7 people pitying the BT right out the gate, just like I did. 12 people pitying the LD. People pitying the BT on this one, not going to try to get Shulk or Kate. Okay, well, whatever. 2 people using gems, 68 tickets, and 65 skips. So kind of all over the place. Really not a consensus on there as to who's getting Vayne and who's not, but a little bit of everything. So gotta respect that. And yeah, again, I think he plays a lot smoother with his LD. But again, is he worth the investment for BT plus? I'd probably rate him on the lower end of these first 8. Although that being said, I think these first 8 are all pretty good options compared to maybe some of the other ones that are coming out, which is kind of weird to say. Although there is kind of a general power progression with the damage dealers. But we also got Cloud of Darkness coming back to us. Woohoo! Everybody loves Cloud of Darkness and her awesome costume. I love her costume mostly because she puts shoes on. And all you people with your feet issues, come on. Keep it in your house. I don't need to know about it on Discord or Reddit.
Keep it in your shoes.
Yeah, keep it in your shoes. Keep your feet in your shoes where they belong. Put some socks on. Unless you're wearing sandals, that's weird. But wear socks. I always wear socks. I'm not a big fan of these bare feet. Yeah. Don't like it. Anyway, Cloud of Darkness comes back. She got a little rework too, and a little boost. But if you're not familiar with Cloud of Darkness, she delays. She has a follow-up attack on her burst, which is real nice. And you probably used her a couple times if you've been playing as a friend unit. You bring her in, them in. Yeah. You bring Cloud of Darkness in, and they do great follow-up attacks and big fat damage during your burst phase. Well, if you want to green your Cloud of Darkness, like many people did apparently, because I've seen a lot of green. They're not shoes. Wait a minute. Well, her feet are covered. That's all I'm saying. Listen. So bare feet covered. Okay, that's all I'm talking about. Her feet are
that's feet binding. That's a whole nother fetish.
Well, that you might be on something there. That may be a whole different issue. It's a whole different set of issues. But yeah, Cloud of Darkness really jumped up to where they needed to be in terms of the power level, the damage. Obviously you can do the unbreak and break and the turn delay. But that wonderful follow-up attack, now if you BT plus her, you can get 2 of them. And it's 8 turns or 10 turns now. Let me check. Either way, it's it is real nice. So you'll probably see a whole bunch of them in your friend. Yeah, it's 8 turns now if you BT plus. So you get potentially just 8 turns, or you get 16 turns of it. So it is very nice to have that very powerful follow-up attack. And of course, then she has that delay ability as well. So I did not green her. I'm not planning to green her, but I plan to use her as a green friend from time to time. I don't know that you necessarily need to have her in your party or that you will use her a lot in your party moving forward because she is such a great friend unit. But Mino, what are your thoughts on Cloud of Darkness?
I think this is probably the best BT plus you could get, and everybody should green COD and put her up as a friend.
Good call.
Right now,
Good
tonight,
call.
as soon as
Yeah.
you listen to this episode,
Yeah.
everyone should green COD and put them up as their support unit. Uh, I've never been a fan of COD in my party either. Feels weird. I don't know. I know a lot of people don't like how she plays, but she does have good fans. She's a solid character. As we've seen recently, the only one that can delay for like 2 or more turns in a single action.
Yes.
But for some reason, I haven't put my finger on it, but it doesn't feel good building stacks with her. Okay, no, actually, I think I do. I know why. Because if you do it with the LD, you're burning a precious skill. If you do it through normal skills, it's too slow to be on demand for the single target delay. I think these stack-based tempo characters feel good when it's part of their natural progression. Like, you don't feel like you're pumping out weaker skills when the skills aren't up. I'm trying to think of someone who's recently who's a stack builder, Mark, that recently came out.
Saban, but they pretty much ignored that in his rework, right? So he just has them all the time. I guess Zande. Oh, Tree Void, thank you. Zande's a stack character, a big stack character.
Sync. Thank you. Sync
Oh, yeah,
does.
Sync.
Sync is a tempo character that
Yep.
feels good to play. Right.
Vayne.
Because you have a lot more control. You have a lot more
He does have
control over
stacks.
those stacks.
Yeah.
And like you have options
Yeah.
to not use the stacks. I mean, you can pop the AA, you can pop the LD, you can pop the EX, like half her kit.
Yeah.
Just gets it back up, and then you can ignore it on, I don't know. But there's a lot of options there. CODS feels dated. I don't really like it. If you're bringing her for, but in terms of follow-up friends, probably the best one. I gotta see as we go into the future because I think I experimented on this fight, and an ace friend was far more useful than a COD friend, at least for this fight, because ace has the 80% defense down and the big fat BT auras that are better than CODs that feel a lot better. So like I know a lot of people like to use COD for the follow-up, but I wonder if she'll actually outpace ace, because right now ace feels a lot better a friend to bring in for that purpose.
Well, I think we have more people that have actually greened ace than probably people, at least the English speaking or global community who play the Japanese version of the game had in their version. So we had a lot more people saying, "Oh, ace is pretty good. You should check them out." And so there are a lot of green aces on my friends list. I know. So I think we have a little bit more option to play with that. Pikachu says, "Cloud of Darkness is a better friend than ace if you're using ace." So that's fair. Cloud of Darkness. Yeah.
That's a good point, actually. But so I think a green COD is solid. I think if you really like COD's playstyle and her character, you shouldn't listen to the people who are saying she's better off as a friend unit. That's dumb. She works perfectly fine in the party.
Yeah.
And we were just in the middle of a series of delay characters. We just had Quistis, now COD, very soon Garland. Pick your poison, right? And any one of the three should serve your delay needs, except that 2 are BT plus characters, and I still think Quistis is complete garbage. And I don't think I've seen anyone run her in this event. I gotta go check the call to arms before I get called out.
She is not ideal in this event.
I don't think she's ideal for Lufania in general. I'm not. I really think Quistis sucks. I am big on that train, but back to you.
Silocons, that is an excellent question. Silocon says, "Where can I find the option to become a YouTube member?" I don't know. Somewhere somewhere on the page. I hope they have been enabled. So yeah, I don't have a good answer. If somebody else knows how YouTube membership works, it's still kind of new to us. So if you can't find it, then maybe I gotta do some work over the week and figure out where it is. I know I did it for Black Nero. I'm a member of his YouTube. Yeah.
In has a great point. COD Friends can also re-break and delay too. So right, like she can cover several situations well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, again, check out the beautiful infographic on TonberryTroupe.com, and of course another podcast poll. This, because of course we already had Cloud of Darkness, and she was hyped the last time they came with their. It's only on PC. Yeah. Pikachu says on YouTube there should be a join button next to the subscribe button. There you go. It's not an option on mobile. It's just on a browser, internet, PC. There you go. Thank you all in chat. So because we already had Cloud of Darkness BT, only one person pitying, one person gems, 3 tickets, 146 skips. Obviously, if you had Cloud of Darkness and if you wanted to green Cloud of Darkness, very likely you already had Cloud of Darkness. If you didn't, you may be the purpose. Maybe those people who are pulling. Skwex Joshua says Kista's friend can be nice against single targets who prevent delay. Yes. Yeah, there will be situations like that. And I will be using my Kistis, my blue Kistis, throughout Lufania Plus, I'm sure. But obviously, in a when I was already using Vayne and other things like that, you didn't want to stack your delays or deletes. But you could have definitely used Kistis. You could have used it on. You
could have used Quistis here?
Yeah,
here?
Yeah, there's got to be at least one.
I don't think the turn counts are tight, Mark. Have you seen this fight without synergy? The turn count is.
I did it in like 18 turns. I mean, it wasn't that hard. Well, speaking of the fight, let's talk about. I was going to see if I could find the video list and see if there is anybody who.
And while you're looking for that, though, I'm not calling you or Josh out. It's a very valid thing to say Quist's friend can be nice against a single target that prevents delay. But to quote BC, who famously reminded me of this when I was talking about sync, is, are we theory crafting in a vacuum here? Or are there actual fight examples? Because in a vacuum, everything sounds good, but then it's the game and the devs releasing fights that don't really help that. So, like, in theory, Palom in a vacuum sounds like a great character. And then you realize, like, the week after his release, all the bosses doubled their HP and stats. And then he was just pure garbage. So, like, theory crafting in a vacuum is nice, but the reality is in a live service game and a gacha and a living game model where power creep is eternally a thing, will there ever be a situation that I want to bring 0 damage Quistis for some delays rather than an actual just big damage dealer or a turn deletion on that or BT phase or instant phases like Vayne or turn manipulation, right?
Yeah, we'll just have to see, or go through all the fights and figure it out. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But let us talk about the Lufania Plus fight. Of course, this is a raid event, so you want to be doing that Cosmos co-op. Not only to get refined spheres for those great A spheres, but you also need to be able to bring Edgar, King, and who else did we need? We needed Edgar. We need King. We need one other character. Strago. So make sure that, yes, it is easier if you bring 3 Cloud of Darknesses, but we don't get all the rewards unless we bring those other characters. So start up your King, start up your Stragos, your blue Stragos, and get your Edgar off the bench because it's his time to shine. Thank you, Summon Biscuits, for the subscription. 14 months. Appreciate you hanging out with us all of that time. So you fight these 2 scary-looking things. When was the first time we fought these bosses?
What the hell were these things again?
The
Oh, the
Rafflesias.
Rafflesias?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't remember.
We fought them before. Somebody remind me.
For sure. For sure.
Where the first time we fought these bosses were, but they are bosses that we've fought before. Jack Stray Beat says maybe. Yeah, that sounds right. Might have been Jack. Jack, yeah. So, couple things. The orb, and you can go again to DissidiaFFOO.com, break it down. Excalibur, as we said, has a great infographic. The orb is an inflict break orb. They get a +4 count if you break them. Easy enough. A lot of characters do that. Obviously, Cloud of Darkness and Vayne both cancel and break. So if you bring either one of them, orb's really not going to be an issue. After your first action, they go back and forth between boss A and boss B into this concentrate mode. So that's when you see like the little pollen around them. They're concentrating. And you have to take 4 consecutive actions before either whichever one is concentrating. So let's say A is concentrating. You have to take 4 actions before A goes, or it will do its Toxify Plus attack, which will make you dead. Maybe not 100% of the time, but enough that it is, they wipe all their buffs and everything. It's awful. You shouldn't do it. So that's the first thing you have to do. Obviously, you have to manage the orb. Second thing you have to do is deal with this concentrate, and they switch back and forth. A concentrates, then B concentrates, and A concentrates, etc. Oh, thank you, Macno. Yes, Macno reminds us boss actions also count. So if B acts and A is concentrating, that counts as one of your 4. So you can break them out of order or separate them between actions. Just be careful, because this has a fun mechanic that I love, and I know Mino loves it as well. If you take 12 consecutive actions, they instantly warp and take their turn. They cleanse all their buffs, framed and unframed, and they immediately act. Now, they don't immediately do Toxify. They just do whatever attack they were going to do. So you can actually have them warp. If you don't care about them cleansing their debuffs, you can actually have them warp and live, as I did in my fight, because if you know they're not going to do Toxify in their next fight, it's much less of an issue. Then you can take 24 turns and be okay.
Yeah.
I think those are the 3 big things. Oh, they also have huge, crazy defense. I guess that's the 4th thing. So you probably want to bring some defense down. Obviously, Jackal has that. Porum has that. There's a few other people that have defense down built in there. Beatrix. So defense down does really help in this particular fight. So I think those are the 4 big things. There was this thing that said Vayne is not good in this event. Vayne sucks in this event. That's complete garbage. He takes care of the orb completely. You just have to learn how to count. And so I used Vayne without being green. He shines. He does great, right? Not a problem. My turn count's half of what everybody else's turn count is because he gets all these free consecutive turns, right? So he's obviously not bad with this. And I brought him with Bart's and Beatrix. So yeah. So I mean, he's not bad. You just need to learn how to count. And if you can learn how to count, you'll be fine. Remember, your summon phase does not count towards your 12 actions, and your burst phase counts as 1. Now, your burst plus, if you use the burst plus effect, that's 1, but your entire burst phase is just the burst attack. That's the 1 action. So just make sure you're counting correctly. Keep a pen and paper with you, right? Some scratch paper.
Did you do that? Did you use scratch paper?
No, I did it in my head, but I miscounted too, so.
Okay. Yeah, because I was saying, like, they're not always on the same timer, so you
Correct.
are keeping track of 2 different counts. So I get how doing it in your head can be a little tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, you covered everything I wanted to say, other than single target means you're safe for the warp. If you see them both targeting single target, just go ham.
Yep.
All attacks are the 50-50. They're either gonna Toxify and cleanse themselves, which is when they turn warp, it's a full cleanse.
Yep.
And when they regular Toxify, is the regular Toxify the recast? No, just regular Toxify.
They don't have a recast.
Is generic cleanse. Right. Okay.
Yep.
And so, yeah, you nailed all the mechanics. I loved I think the fights are just really good now. I'm having a blast with Lufania Plus. A lot of people hate this level of involvement, but I like that you have to think more in these fights. And I felt the same way about Quistis. I think the Quistis one would have been great if we had more options other than Quistis and COD. But
Ooh.
just the fact that like this is how I feel turn hoggers and speedsters should work. They shouldn't be using no turn strategies only. They should do it in small bursts, right? Like you do your Terra LD burst, and then it's not a constant thing. You're not just never giving the enemy turns. You're just having burst phases, right? Terra LD here, couple of moves, enemy goes, Terra LD again, etc., etc. So the fact that this whole cycle that revolves around a 2-week synergy that's like a turn hogger, but you have to let the enemy go. I love that concept. I really like turn warping. I know it goes away. I wish it didn't. I wish turn warping and threshold attacks were here to stay.
Yeah.
And just go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, Macnell says, it's going to be Toxify if they are concentrating. So if one of them is concentrating and they turn warp, that's real bad for you. And Skwex Joshua says, just use Magic the Gathering counters. I got one right here from my where is the 20? Oh, I thought these had the symbols on them.
That's actually the dice is
yeah.
D12 would be nice. That's
it's from my game night where you have one deck of each color. It's a nice little set. But yeah, get your D12s out. Everybody, I think my D12s are in the closet back here. I got a bag of dice.
Yeah.
Sure,
to quote Blizzard, don't you people have phones? Can't you just pull up your calculator? I don't understand. Don't you people have pen and paper?
Yeah, don't you have a little scratch pad by the telephone? But don't you have a little notepad and a pencil by your rotary phone when the mayor calls? like no, not at all.
But right. Jokes aside, I do understand. It's such a given. I see pros and cons for both. Because I know a lot of people in the community are saying, why couldn't Skwex just put like a counter on them? So there's like a visual indicator of how many turns you have to take. And it's pros and cons. Like I feel like in this game, in this fight, there's not enough going on that you have an excuse not to keep track of this. It's really to side with the devs, to play devil's advocate. It's not that hard to keep track of. There's no other mechanic you really have to pay attention to.
Right.
I know in later, more complicated fights, they give you more indicators. So like the 6-man quests where there's 2 different bosses with 2 different behaviors. Because, we're used to fighting clones, right? Mark, it's always 2 or 3 copies of the same boss doing the same thing.
Right.
But in 6-man quests, when it's 2 different bosses doing different things, then the Square Enix does put in more indicators and more like UI help for the players. That's understandable. There are more things to juggle. I remember we were talking about this in our mod chat, and I was just getting back into FF14, and it's just like, how much information do games give you? Because a lot of things like Dark Souls and stuff, there's just like no indication. The game is figuring it out. Yeah. And who, I forgot who said this. I remember Macno wanted me to quote this. I think it was Nidre. I'm just going to credit Nidre, saying that like Rain's Mao and this are probably some of the harder things we've seen in Defo, but Defo is overall an easier game than most, to be honest. There's not that many mechanics to keep track of. In every Lufania Plus fight, there's like 3 or 4 things you're watching out for. No. Tops. So I don't think it's asking too. I think it defeats the purpose if there is too much help from the devs, because then there's no game. Then you're just solving math equations and following prompts on the screen. You might as well be doing QuickTime events. Like there's no puzzle to figure out. That being said, I know counting it's tough to count to 12 2 separate times, and I don't know. I can't defend. Mark, do you have a case for the other side? Like, this is
no. I really don't think, like you said, as long as you're bringing the right characters, you don't really need to worry about the orb. And because you're going to want to take more turns than not, you probably really don't need to worry about the concentrate. I mean, I know some people have run into that as that's a kind of a big issue, but I don't foresee it as a huge issue if you're trying to take 10, 11 turns each time before the boss acts. So yeah, the one thing you do have to do is keep count of your actions. And if we had a counter, I guess there's some ways to saying like, okay, you still have to plan ahead, because you can still mess up with a counter, but not having the counter just makes it a little bit more interesting. Probably a couple more resets, and so a little bit more investment, but it's a quick fight. We're back down to 12-minute, 14-minute fights as opposed to 20, 30-minute fights. So I don't mind having to reset a couple times or wiping a couple times to work on it, just to get the timing down.
Yeah, as you said, and Marcos Barada on YouTube saying, I think it's difficult for average players. The difficulty for average players comes from keeping track during the whole fight. Normally, we need to deal with boss mechanics during specific life thresholds, et cetera, et cetera. I've seen much worse, and I know before Macnell yells at me saying just because everything else is worse doesn't mean this has to be too. But I just personally feel like it's not that big of an ask at this point. I haven't seen a mechanic. I haven't seen a fight that I think is way too insane mechanically for anyone that's like up to date. We have players in our community that say that before this they've only played like Pokemon or Mario or Zelda. So I get like this is a step up in difficulty. This is end game content though.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. Your average EX raid in FF14 has way more going on than this. And
I can attest to that. I still have no idea what some of those raids are like, some of those dungeons bosses in FF14. I have no idea what killed me 6 times in a row. Yeah.
But moving on from this fight, I thought it was brilliant that there's a mechanic where you have to take 3 to 4 turns in a row. So you have to take a lot of turns in a row, but you can't take too many. So there's a balance. So you have to think. You have to strategize. I really liked this fight and the last couple of fights. I feel like Lufania Plus launch has just been stellar in terms of game design. And I'm really sad to hear that it becomes brain dead later or very, very quickly.
Again, DissidiaFFOO.com. If you're struggling with this, TCCpodcast.com. You can find the link to our Discord. Join our Discord. There's plenty of people to help. We have a wonderful thread for every single fight in Lufania Plus that does contain all the clears, screenshots, and videos. And, of course, Call to Arms has clears too broken down. Do submit your clears to Call to Arms on DissidiaFFOO.com. That just helps the community a lot. And you can check out my run and kind of walk through the fight as well if you want to hear my take on it in a little expanded. Well, as of 5 minutes ago, we did not get an event, so no event to cover, but we did get a new character and a new costume. That new character is Final Fantasy VII Zack, and he gets his swimsuit. So I'm a big fan of this. I'm definitely going to be picking up this costume because more swimsuits. Please.
More swimsuits.
More seasonal attire. I'm a big fan of the concept art. I got the books behind me, so I'm a big fan of that. You can't see them, but they are behind me. But yeah, let's get some autumn festival costumes. Let's get some winter solstice costumes. Let's get some beach attire. It's great. It's good for everybody. More swimsuits. A little disappointed Tifa not having a swimsuit this time around. Maybe next time. Tifa BT swimsuit costume, please. So it's printing money, Skwex. Printing money. So I don't know. I don't know. But here we go. Zack, if you're not familiar with what Zack does, Zack got a little rework and an LD. Zack will get a BT and BT Plus here in a couple months, but he's doing pretty good for what he gets with his LD. He is a character who can lock enemies, so the enemies have that lock debuff where they have to attack Zack. When enemies are focused on him, his damage increases a lot. He also is doing both magic and melee attacks, so keep that in mind. He is doing significant damage, so he is a good damage dealer that has some party utility and a defensive auras. He does get an LD, which actually heals the party, which is awesome. Always good to have some extra healing. Gives him a free ability turn on his next use, does a big old fat attack, but also gives him the Embrace Your Dreams. Embrace your dreams. I don't know where he heard that, but he says it a lot. So embrace your dreams, friends. And that gives him and the party a lot of boosts in terms of damage reduction and defense up to the party. Also, he gets to a little extra damage up and overflow up and damage resist and HP regen on himself. So he's doing his job as a defensive character a lot better, but he's also doing a good chunk of damage. I obviously don't have any practical experience with him, but if I can figure out how to do it, Jin Lee and I will be having a pull battle here in a little while. So, Mino, any thoughts on Zach? We haven't had time to play him, but he is synergy on this event. So you can use him in the raid event, or you can use him to beat this Lufania Plus. He's actually a really good option on this Lufania Plus. So if you're having struggles with it and you were going to pull on Zach anyway, yeah, great option. Mino, what are your thoughts?
A lot of people are arguing whether Zach is a tank or a DPS, and I'm here to set the record straight. You're all idiots. He's a healer now. His
healer.
LD recovers 50% max HP to the party and gives a 10% HP regen. So he is pretty much a solo healer now. He can solo heal your teams. And what he got in this rework basically is a lot of damage. A lot of damage. Very, very competitive damage. And I know the pushback to the tank thing is because he works with tanks that aren't lock dependent. Big one is, everyone's saying skip Zach for Orin, but there's lots of cases of Zach being used with Orin. There's no reason they couldn't work together. Zach can tank and nullify attacks. Orin can counter it right back. He has competitive defensive auras. The rework and the LD don't interest me too much at this point because it doesn't change his gameplay too much. Basically, he wants the focus, so he wants the lock to be up, so he's always taking up that frame debuff.
Yeah,
slot.
and the LD also reapplies the lock, so you have another option because I think he could in his previous iteration, he could run out of the lock. And that could be an issue. So you can also bring a lock call on him to double up, but he does have 3 uses of his LD, and of course he gets lock on his EX, and he gets a free ability on his next turn, so you can lock on his chain slash as well. So
right. But all semantics aside, Zach has always been character concept from the day he was released is a quote-unquote tank that lets your party go all out, right?
Yeah.
Back when you were actually scared of getting broken, he had mechanics to nullify damage coming in, right? That fat personal shield, he'll take everything on, and, he kept dumping his Brave with no fear of repercussion. Same with the team. Now it's just the same thing. He goes all out, your team goes all out, very little fear of getting hit in return. I think it's a fine character, but I'm not pulling until force weapons get here.
Yeah.
So
me neither.
That's a pass for me, dog.
Yeah. Shout out to Chris5258, our good friend Chris, who also streams DissidiaFFOO for rating. And all of you who are not familiar, this is the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast with episode 172. So we've been doing this for a long time. And myself and Mino Spellgood are here with you tonight. And do go check out Chris on Twitch. He's always streaming DissidiaFFOO and other fun things. So, yeah. And thank you for those who jumped on and followed. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Chris. And also, I just thought of one thing. If you for all the people saying wait until Zach gets his BT, if you pull his LD now, then when his BT comes, you can get more Power Stones. And that's the real prize of the banner.
And remember, 100 G tokens for 1 Power Stone. So keep that in the back of your mind as you're, as you keep going up to Like, let's say, maybe I'll get 400. Like, do I really want a BT book or do I want 4 Power Stones? I think these are the questions we need to start asking ourselves. Somebody asked, very serious question about spheres that are good on Zach. So, Mino, do you have any sphere recommendations?
Yeah. I think Zach Sphere is really good on
Yeah.
Zach.
I in fact have Zach Sphere on Zach. After attacking target, targeting self, increase Brave by 40% of int Brave once per turn.
Oh, that's actually terrible.
It's not great.
Int Brave's a dead stat.
Actually,
This era,
it's not
Int Brave is a dead stat.
it's not wonderful. Uh, but I believe there are spheres that you do more damage if the person is targeting you, and that would be a good sphere for Zach. Yeah. Hey,
Oh,
Light Hazel,
Mark,
thank you for.
while you're looking through that, I laughed and thought it was a joke, but thinking back on your words, you're right. Sometimes do consider your G tokens if you want the Power Stone more than the book, because I know for veterans, we're getting very close to not needing any EX books or ingots anymore.
Oh yeah, no, right.
We're very, very close. In fact, if you use Nidra's cursed tracker, we'll be done in a handful of months.
Yeah, I'm down to BC reminded me that you have to think about future BT plus or future EX. We're talking about EXs, right? So
just wait for the LCs.
Yeah, so I'm down to here are I have 7 characters. So Prompto, Fang, Papalymo, Cypher, Lion, Realm, and then Jet. I don't have Jet's EX. Those are the 7 EXs I'm currently don't have purple. And I'm sitting at about, I think, 4 books and 8 ingots. So yeah, I mean we're at a spot, if you've been playing since day one, where you shouldn't be needing those books. You might want to pick up excuse me, I got the hiccups. You might want to pick up the Power Stones instead of the EX book. 4 Power Stones instead of a BT book might be tough. Mino, do you want to? Oh God, I got the hiccups really bad. So do you want to bring any discussion?
Sure. Let's dig through the questions really quick. I think we had some good ones this week. Let's see. Here we go. Pikachu asks. Okay, I'm skipping that one. Pikachu asks, what country in Africa loves the Black Panther and hates machines?
Oh, I don't. Is it Egypt? Is it Egypt? Is Pikachu game still on here? Is it Egypt?
No, I think it's is it
Nigeria?
Is it Uganda?
Uganda? What? Wow. Wow. No. What? Oh, no. No, I can't. Wakananda.
Uganda, Wakanda, same
Wakanda,
thing.
Waka. Yeah. I can't even say that. It hurts me in my brain so much.
Is it Rwanda? That's a place, right?
Wakanda. Yes, Wakanda. Yeah, Wakanda. Waka. Oh wow.
Hayne asks.
That was great.
It's recently come to be known that players in some other Final Fantasy mobile games were using hacks and exploits to gain an unfair advantage. How would you feel if there were players hacking and exploiting in DissidiaFFOO? Example, outraged and demand immediate action from developers, not care because it's mostly a single player game, something in between. I'll start with this one.
Yeah.
There are ways to exploit in DissidiaFFOO, but not as bad as the other ones because I don't think there's that many things that are client side. DFFOO checks a lot of things server side all the time. Polls, battle completions, but there are some well-known exploits that have been around since the game's inception. That being said, these exploits I don't think give you a big enough advantage, and I really think it's on the developers to fix that. like if your game is exploitable, that should be a top priority to fix, right? Like NFTs, if people can, save a screenshot or right click and save as, and that ruins the value, that's a design flaw. That's really on that's really on the corporation, the company. If there's really such an exploitable thing, that's 100% on them to fix. So I personally don't care if people exploit or not. Do you have any thoughts on this, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if you were. I mean, some of the things that were shared that could be done if you had a Android or emulator were basically just stat increases. And I mean, obviously, this is not a PvP game. There's no, rankings or anything else. So yeah, at the end of the day, who cares? I feel like I'm not really sure. Uh, I had my Game Genie uh, back in the early '90s, for some games, but some of you, yeah, Game Shark, you might be more familiar with, but it was Game Genie, the original one, and you slid the Game Genie in there in your Nintendo, and then put the cartridge in, and then you could unlock some different things. But I don't, yeah, I don't know why you would cheat in a game like this. Very truthfully, unless you were trying to get resources, and of course that's not. They're not going to like that, and I don't think you can do that. So. And if you do, you'll probably get your account locked out and have to start over. So just play the game and don't worry
That's
about
bringing
cheating.
up good points. Well, first Excalibur says they fixed the core cheese on Sanctuary Keepers,
Mm.
the infinite loop
Yeah.
with core and Eldnarsh. Okay, so maybe they were getting that ready for the Kate loop coming up, so
Yeah.
you you can't cheat. But the other thing is right, like there were a lot of exploitable fights that were
Mm.
patched out later, such as so Yuffie and Dullahan stayed.
Right.
Yuffie and Garnet IW was patched out. The Maria eyes were patched out. Do you
Mm-hmm.
remember that?
Yes.
When they were stuck.
Yes.
So there were a good handful of fights throughout the game's history that were very exploitable, and clearly you weren't meant to beat them in certain ways. So lots of people exploited those. So for those in chat, do you think people who like Yuffie cheesed Dillahan should be punished? Or if they, exploited the Maria fight, they should be punished? In my opinion, if they got away with it, that's on the devs. 100%. That's like, I don't think players should be punished for finding loopholes.
Yeah. No. I
Otherwise,
like.
speedrunners would be like banned from playing fucking games.
Yeah. The Maria fight is a really good example. If your people aren't familiar with that, there was a way to, yeah, just like in the first 12 hours, and then it was fixed. Some people found a way to kind of make the fight much easier. And so, right. They didn't do anything to their phone. They didn't do anything to the game files. They just found a way that there was a bug in the game, and so you take advantage of the bug, and it goes on with that. And then, hey, if you got to take advantage of that, great. If not, then sorry about your luck. Yeah, and with fights, who cares? I mean, like, okay, if there was a thing like, well, the very first hour an event launched, the free poll didn't go away, so all my polls were free polls, and so I was on when the event launched, like you should be, and I got 100 free polls before they shut down the game. Maybe that's something that they need to talk about. What do you do and how do you compensate? And I mean, I've played other games where something like that's happened. And they really had to kind of go back and say, okay, everybody gets a free this, or that, because that can really create discord in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to touch on something Pikachu said is uh I think it's really stupid to care about or gatekeep how other people play their games. As a PC gamer, I mod games all the time to increase my enjoyment. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The only time, as Pikachu Games said, the only time that cheating, I think, tends to matter is when it's a PvP game, a very competitive game, and you gain an unfair advantage. They ban all the time for that. But when it's a single player experience, I don't care how anybody beats the fight.
Yeah.
You do
Exactly.
you, right? Like
Exactly.
I have a life. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna police how everybody else plays their fucking game. But yeah. Did you have anything else to say about that,
No,
Mark?
I
Before
I think that's great. It literally doesn't impact me whatsoever. So go ahead. You might get your account taken away if you are intentionally trying to manipulate the game or mod the game. But right, if you find a loophole in something and you get it to work, then good on you. That doesn't bother me one way or the other. Yeah, I think you got at least one more question you want to tackle, Mino.
uh, yeah, it's just the one more question. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
So Diotic says if you become poor in DFFOO, so like less than 150k gems or less than 500 tickets, how would that affect your poll plans? Do you want to go first on this,
Oh,
Mark?
sweet Jesus. Yeah. Whew. Well, I'm just going to throw it out there because we know to fully limit break a force weapon, which is the new weapon tier in the Japanese version of the game, that is a 400 G token, right? And if you want to use power stones, it's actually you have to use hyper power stones. You have to use 12 of them, and it's 20 regular power stones per one hyper power
Yes.
stone. So that's 240 power stones to fully limit break it. So it's much easier to just pull 4 copies of the force weapon. And so that's that's 1,600 G tokens. So that's 400,000. So you need to any character that you want your force weapon for, like Kain. Both Mino and I, one of our favorite characters, Kain from Final Fantasy IV, the After Years, great game. And so if you are like us and you're gonna definitely need Kain and his force weapon MLB'd right out the gate. Yeah, I mean that's 400,000 gems. You better have ready. So I would say if you have 150,000 gems, you shouldn't pull for the next year. Yeah, that's my advice.
Okay. So I've been in this situation. I don't remember if Mark has. I've hit
Yeah,
zero gems
I hit
before.
zero right before or right after Beatrix. So first
Yeah.
anniversary, I was at 0 gems.
I hit zero gems in my Defo career before. I think it was right after Pity was introduced. I spent my last couple of gems on Kane LD that Kreese baited me into pulling. And then we got a bunch of time travelers back to back right after that. We got Thancred, we got Bartz, and then Ramza had an EX.
Yeah.
And so back then I was a shotgun puller. I know Mark was too.
Yes.
And so like Pity was a new concept, so it was just like, oh, I have like 35k gems. Let me try for Thangrid. Miss. Build it back up to like 15, 20k gems. I'll pull for Ramza. Miss. It felt so
Yeah,
shitty. So I've actually
go listen to some of those early shows. Go listen to some of the first like 30 shows of the Crystal Chronicles. You can watch them all or listen to them all on tccpodcast.com or on YouTube. Yeah. As none of us have any resources ever, and poor Pierre didn't get Zaz 35, and of course
oh
Zaz
yeah, that
35
was rough. That was rough.
helped so much. And yeah, so Strider says, spoiler alert, Kane is single in the end. Strider, thank you for commenting. But in Defo canon, Strider and Aranea are a couple. And
You mean
so
Kane and RNA, not
Kane,
not Strider and RNA.
yeah, no, yes. Well, Strider, well, that's a good crossover. Capcom Strider from Capcom versus Marvel.
Oh, I thought you meant Lord of the Rings Strider.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Aragon.
Aragorn and Aranea. I got
Yeah.
a new fan.
Well, shit.
That's
Well,
the
that's a
sequel.
new
That's the
fanfic.
sequel.
Yeah. Yeah. The True King and the
Yeah,
Commodore.
just substitute Aragorn for Noctis. Tell
Yeah.
the story. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got it.
There you go.
Okay. So I've been in a situation where I was at 0 gems, 0 tickets, dirt poor. That changed how I played, and I followed the advice that I gave Illuminasa in our community, and I remember Illuminasa said that advice worked wonders, and he was able to build up a stash. And that was we pick one character a month to go for. So once I was broke, I just looked ahead and sorry, Skwex, this is your fault for giving us 8 months of foresight. But I was able to look ahead and say, okay, every month I'm only gunning for one character. And then because we say it all the time, in a month you get about the amount to pity a character. That was back during EX, so 75k gems for the whole thing. And so by just picking one character a month, because you're not always going to pity every character you go for,
Yeah.
you start slowly building a stash again. And by sticking to that rule, I amassed a ridiculous amount of gems. And Mark's right. If we're gonna break character and talk about JP for a bit, we just saw the next tier, the next gotcha tier. They are indeed tightening their grip, which I think we all predicted, right? Like every tier is tightening the grip a little more. So that definitely has me questioning my pull plans. How do I do it? I forgot there was some discussion on our server today. I think it was Nidre and somebody else. They were saying NBC. They were saying they learned how to hold gems because by keeping a log, that stupid ass thing that everyone like Inkwelder and Macnol are doing now, where they're literally logging their character usage throughout eras. I
Yeah.
think that's insane. But by doing that, a lot of people realize, hey, I pulled for this and pulled and built this character, and I used them literally once in the last 2 years. Or, like I used this character 0 times. Like me, I pulled for Null, and he's been on my bench ever since. Like if you really stop and think, then oh sorry, Mark. I'll get to that.
Yeah.
If you really stop and think, be honest with yourself. How much are you pulling on impulse and how much are you pulling on need?
Yeah.
Right? And like Mark and I are a little richer now, so we've been a little more loose with our pull plan. We pull for fun now. Now that new era is, I am tightening it up.
Yeah, no, well, I
Definitely
think,
my pull
I mean, I
plans.
think that was kind of my thought going into, because we knew the first couple months of Lufania Plus had some challenging fights, but then it really does open it up into the C90 era, and a lot more characters become viable, and it is, there's going to be a lot of characters that are going to be fun, and maybe you want to pick them, but knowing that there was a new difficulty tier, knowing that there was a new weapon tier, it's going to make those of us who already have a sizable stash of gems, specifically, kind of want to kind of want to save up a little bit more.
Right. We'll talk about that in the post show, guys. We're really gonna dive into the JP announcements in the post show, but basically, winter's coming again, and it really is me asking myself. It's like the Quistis thing, right? So this is a little too hardcore for most people, probably, but this is once again the pros of foresight. If Skwex doesn't want to catch up GL to JP and we have 8 months of foresight, I'm going to use that foresight. And so when I'm looking at my poll plans now, I'm doing what the BC advice of, I'm looking specifically at fights and saying, do I need this character for fights? Or am I theory crafting this character in a fucking vacuum and I'll actually never use them? Because that happens all the time, guys. It's really easy to get excited about a character with 0 context because the characters are only as good as the content makes them. So how I evaluate characters is looking at all the actual fights lined up and seeing, is this character actually going to be fucking useful for these fights? Fuck Quistis.
Yeah. Well, hey, looking ahead, just into the immediate future, we have the Mission Dungeon event on the 1st. That will bring us Kate Sith. We have Shelky's event on the 3rd, a new character from Final Fantasy VII, Dirge of Cerberus. On the 8th, the Community Challenge with World of Final Fantasy Twins, Lon and Rain, and Garland BT+. Intersecting Wills on the 11th with Garnet's LD, and Boss Rush maybe 6 on the 15th with Orin's LD. And then on Sunday the 21st, the next Skwex Community Momo stream. Doesn't mean there might be some other things popped in there as well, like this Sack Manor just kind of jumped in there. But so join us next week. This has been episode 172 of the Crystal Chronicles, recorded October 28th, 2021. for Mino Spellgood and myself, best of luck to all of you. If you need help, tccpodcast.com. Check out all the links below. Join our Discord, like, sub, ring the bell, support us any way you can. We truly appreciate all of you. Stick around for the post show. Goodbye. All right, the answer was Final Fantasy 13. Final Fantasy 13. Mino hates. So jump
14 out of 15 Final Fantasies in the correct answer. So
yeah, to be fair.
Yeah, you guys get participation points if you just everything.
So we're going to stick around for the post show, but everybody just hold on a second. Because this is what we're going to do. Jin Lee and I are going to have a poll battle. I'm going to do that offline, and the only way I can do that with Jin Lee is the only way I can do that is for me to stop my end of the stream. But we do want to hang out for post show, and so hang on Twitch. If you're on YouTube, I don't think Mino can do that yet. So join us on Twitch. The Crystal Chronicles on Twitch. If not, we'll check you all later. Thank you for hanging out with us on YouTube tonight. Really appreciate it. And Mino will stream on Twitch, and we'll talk about post-show fun. Maybe he'll pull on Zach as well. So thank you all. I'm going to end the stream. Just hang out, and Mino will start it back up, and we'll join you for JP Talk. Mino has actually listened to and read all of the Ope Ope, so he actually can read the Moon Ruins, unlike some of us. So he has some good insight in there. So thank you all for watching.